Hello everyone, welcome to the first PUC online classes of Gopalswamy PU College, Mysuru. I am Suma, economics lecturer. In today's session of infrastructure, let us discuss about the state of infrastructure in India. And today's topic is about the state of health infrastructure in India. In the previous session, you learned about the infrastructure of the power sector in our country. And in continuation to that, let us today discuss about the issues related to health infrastructure. You all know that what is health. Health is the well-beingness of a person. It is the physical and mental well-beingness of a person. It also includes the emotional, intellectual, spiritual as well as the social well-beingness of a person. You all know the importance of health. You all have studied in your previous chapters that the health and education are the two very important weapons that converts a human into human resource or human capital. So, healthy citizens are the best resources of any country, because as our country is very rich in natural resources as well as it is equally potential with the healthy human resources. So, along with the combination of these two natural resources and human resources, India is performing very well towards the economic progress and development. So, let us see about the importance of health in one's life. Health is very important. Particularly, you are all very familiar with this pandemic period. Due to the COVID-19, we are all suffering a lot, and still India is doing very good in terms of the mortality rate because of India's traditional food practices and hygienic practices. And even though we are the second largely populated country, the death claims in India is very meager when compared to many developing nations and developed nations. This is all because of the good habits of health practices that is prevailing in our India from good old days. So, we all know about the state of health prior to independence and after independence. So, prior to the independence period of our country, most of our citizens were not aware about the basic hygienic practices, and during the period of independence also and as well as after the independence also, we are not very much aware about the health practices. This is due to the ignorance as well as lack of awareness. Most of the early 5-year plans of our country did not consider health as a serious issue, and they were worried about the agricultural productivity as well as import subsidization. They totally neglected the area of health, but after a few years, the health sector gradually gained importance and it is doing very well. So, therefore, and even now also many remote corners of our country are deprived of basic health and sanitation facilities. Even after 70 years of independence also, we are still struggling to have good hygienic practices, and an awareness should be created about the sanitation facilities also in some parts of our country. This is owing to many reasons. It is particularly due to the illiteracy and under education of the people residing in those areas. Now let us see about the three-tier system of health in our country. As you all know that India is a country of villages, and 70% of India's population lies in villages. Therefore, every village is connected with one PHC. So, the three-tier system of health in India constitute a primary system, secondary system and the tertiary system. Under the primary system, we have the PHCs. They are primary health centers. You can see the primary health centers established in every village in our country, and these primary health centers are one which give awareness about the immunization, vaccination, importance of personal hygiene as well as community hygiene, and also informations related to other health issues. These primary health centers have a doctor, but here no surgeries are undertaken, no operations are conducted here in this primary health centers, but preliminary treatment is given and some basic facilities are available in these primary health centers. Whatever the government intends through its projects will reach the village people through these primary health centers. The second one is secondary system of health in our country. This secondary system of health includes the hospitals that are established in small towns and district headquarters. Here surgical equipments and X-ray units are also established, and major operations are also undertaken here. Most of the rural people who cannot have any treatment for their health sufferings will go to this secondary system of health in India and they get the purpose served. And the third one is tertiary system of health in India. The tertiary sector includes both private sector hospitals as well as public sector hospitals. Here lots of medical benefits are available to the people residing in the area, in those cities, and this tertiary system of healthcare is existing everywhere around our country. Lots of importance is given to the health of the individuals in our country. Lots of private sector hospitals have emerged, and as well as today you can see the super speciality hospitals existing in almost all the cities. Here major operations and transplantation of the organs, everything is being done, and many of the hospitals are internationally famous for their operations and treatments. So now let us see about the role of government in the health sector of our country. The government of India has established 19,653 hospitals in our country with 7,54,724 beds in them. Next, 26,325 dispensaries are established by the government of India, as well as with 25,300 PHCs. These PHCs come under the primary sector of health system in our country. Also, the total number of hospitals that are existing in our country are 69,000. Almost 70,000 hospitals are there, and they include both the private sector as well as the public sector. So among that 70,000 of hospitals, among that 69,000, the almost 20,000 hospitals belong to the government sector and rest are belonging to the private sector. The state of Uttar Pradesh only has 3,227 hospitals in it. As you all know, Uttar Pradesh is the largest populated state of our country. It is even having larger number of hospitals in it, and the private sector is also nowhere lagging behind in providing health services in our country. After the liberalization policy accepted in the year 1991, many foreign direct investments are coming to India, and the NRIs have invested in the health sector of our country and have established super speciality hospitals also. And many private colleges have emerged with the foreign institutional investors' money as well as the NRIs' money, and also many pharmacy colleges and drugs and pharmaceutical companies were also established in our country, because it is a very worth investment and it is a very good business in these days. Health sector is also considered as a commercial one today, and lots of crores of money is being invested from the private sector also in our country. Lots of super speciality hospitals have entered India which provide multiple types of treatments to all kinds of ailments, and people are being benefited out of this. The city of Jalandhar only has 800 hospitals, and therefore that city is called as the global medical hub. Here this tertiary sector includes major hospitals like All India Institute of Medical Sciences of Delhi and Postgraduation Medical Education and Training Center at Chandigarh also, and like this lots of internationally famous super specialty hospitals are providing their services, and therefore many people around the world are visiting to our country for getting treatments for their different types of ailments. And today India is known for the transplantation of the organs. Organ transplantation is also being undertaken in many of the super specialty hospitals, and the needy persons are being benefited out of this, and for that transportation and communication infrastructure is also very well established in our country, and this is also contributing to the development of health infrastructure in our country. So now let us see about the global burden of diseases. Popularly we call it as GBD. Global burden of diseases is nothing but it is an indicator to measure the number of people dying prematurely due to a particular disease and the number of years spent by them in a state of disability owing to that particular disease. Here it is measuring both the qualitative aspect as well as the quantitative aspect. The global burden of disease says that it measures the number of people dying prematurely before the lifespan that is decided they are attaining the deaths, and it is owing to a particular disease, and it also measures the number of years spent by them in a state of disability owing to that particular disease. Today India is a country with number of people suffering from diabetes, and by 2025 India is expected to be the diabetic capital of the world. Total 17% of the total population of world is residing in our country, and 20% of the GBD is found in our country. You all know that 2/5 of the land area of the world is in India, and 20% of the global burden of diseases exist here only. So with this you can understand the importance and significance of health that should be given to the health sector. Here we have 50%, we can see that 50% of communicable diseases are owing to the TB, that is tuberculosis, malaria as well as diarrhea, and 5 lakh children are dying every year due to waterborne diseases because of lack of proper community hygiene practices as well as lack of personal health and sanitation facilities. 5 lakh children are dying every year because of this. It is due to the open gutters, the contaminated water and the stagnation of water which breed the mosquitoes, and all these lead to the deaths of the infants. Infant mortality is that a child dies before it celebrates its first birthday, then we call it as infant mortality, and the number of deaths between 0 to 5 years of a child is very much high in our country. In spite of different types of efforts of our government, it is still more, and lots of efforts are being put in this area from the government sector as well as private sector, but it is not even still coming to control because of this rapid growth of population in our country. The next one is that is 2.2 million children are dying in our country due to malnutrition. This is a very serious cause for the infant's death because due to various reasons the parents are suffering from poverty, and this poverty is making them incapable to feed the child, and 0 to 10 years is very important because during this period only all the bones, muscles, brain are developing. So in this particular age itself, if the child is deprived of proper food and nutrition supplements, then it dies out, it suffers out of different types of malnutrition reasons, and ultimately to eradicate this type of death, Government of India is providing free rations to the people below poverty line, as well as it is providing lots of free medical and health care to the people below the poverty line. Yet the problem of this infant mortality rate is not under control, and it is increasing day by day, and lack of awareness as well as illiteracy are the main reasons for this. The next one is the Indian system of medicine. It is a very important topic of today's session. Indian system of medicine includes Ayurveda, Yoga, Unani, Siddha, Homeopathy as well as Naturopathy. So, we have established a department in our country called AYUSH department. AYUSH department includes the treatments of Ayurveda, Yoga, Unani, Siddha as well as Homeopathy. So, let us discuss all these one by one. Ayurveda is a practice, good old medicinal practice that is existing in our country, and it has references in Vedas and Puranas. The Ayurveda system is one which heals the health disorders with the help of the herbs. It is very helpful, particularly now during this pandemic period. We are all benefited out of the Ayurvedic treatments, and Kerala government has made it mandatory for the consumption of these Ayurvedic medicines for its citizens, so that they can easily overcome this COVID-19, and it has been successful in combating this COVID-19 with its Ayurvedic health practices. Ayurveda includes lots of medical benefits, and people from around the world are now consuming the Ayurvedic medicines to overcome this COVID-19. The next one is yoga. You all know yoga is a good old practice of keeping the physical, mental and emotional health in balance. Yoga is practiced since good old period, and even our rishis or sages in the Vedic period have also practiced this yoga. And from the year 2015, the world is celebrating June 21st as the Yoga Day. A bill was passed in the United Nations regarding the importance of the yogic sciences, and after that only the world fraternity accepted the 21st of June as World Yoga Day, and today everybody is being benefited, and all these yogic practices keep a person's mind in a state of peace and calm. And today many of the diseases are psychosomatic, and therefore to overcome all these psychosomatic ailments one should practice yoga, and our Prime Minister has given lots of significance to this. Next one is Unani. It is a medical practice that was prevailing in the Arabian countries, and today it is not followed much, and those who are well versed with it are only few somewhere around our country, and it is not that familiar compared to the first two. The next one is Siddha. This is the herbal treatment that is taken by the people of tribal area, particularly people residing in the Western Ghats, particularly in the state of Tamil Nadu. They are called as the Siddhas, and through their different types of health practices in the forest itself, they overcame the health disorders and ailments, and still this is in practice in some parts of the southern India. The next one is homeopathy. Samuel Hahnemann is known as the father of homeopathy, and this is in practice everywhere around the world, and even the percentage of people who follow this homeopathy is less, but it is a pseudo-scientific medicinal system. It is not used very much. Next one is naturopathy. Naturopathy is a treatment which is followed by an individual to take about self-care. One's own health care can be taken by following these naturopathy practices. It includes all types of the traditional health practices that are followed in different regions. For example, like a sun bath or applying castor oil to the head, consuming the particular herb for a particular disease, and gives lots of importance to fasting. You all know that in Sanskrit there is a saying called as Langhanam Paramaushadam. Whenever you have some health disorder or some problem in the digestion and also for some stomach disorders, the best medicine is to go for fasting. Almost all the communities and religions have their own way of following the fasting practices, and with this they rejuvenate their health. Fasting is the very best method and also simple and cheap method to rejuvenate one's own health. It helps us to keep ourselves fit and fine, and it helps us to ready for the future tasks, and so that only naturopathy is gaining lots of importance. And everywhere in our country you can see the naturopathy health, natural healing centers, naturopathy health treatment. It includes sun bath, it includes oil bath, and it includes steam bath. Everything is there, and all these are the good old practices that our ancestors practiced and which were ruled out by the yesteryear generation, and now again they are gaining momentum in these days, and people are practicing this naturopathic medicinal practices again. Indian government has established the AYUSH department in almost all the districts of our country, and there are 3,167 AYUSH hospitals are existing in our country, and it has 26,000 dispensaries with 7 lakh doctors practicing. BAMS you all know popularly, that is Bachelor of Ayurvedic Medicinal Services. So those who go to this naturopathy courses, Ayurvedic courses are engaged in providing the health services at AYUSH department. Now let us see about the women health. The women health is a very important sector because women constitute 50% of the total population of our country, and their health is being neglected since good old years. They are always referred as the weaker section of the society, but it is not so, because a woman is one who is equally capable of a man. She has proved that she is capable of performing all the work, and she is ready to accept any task assigned to her, and it is proved in these days. So because of the female feticide, today the ratio of females to males is like this, that is for every 1000 males there are only 914 females, and this is an alarming time, and therefore most of the parts of our country there is a very bad practice that if it is traced that in the womb, if it is a girl child, then that particular lady is forced to go for abortion and the child is killed before it enters the earth. If it is not possible, then soon after it is delivered, the child will be killed by different types of practices. Even today also, Indian men are thinking that a girl child is a burden to the family. It is not so. A girl child should be encouraged, because if the situation continues to go like this, then population will be filled with men and no women will be there, and if the ratio is not in a balance, it leads to lots of multiple problems, and even the economic progress of a country is also not seen in that particular situation. Mental mortality rate is very high in our country. Every year in India, around 3 lakh girls of 15 years and below 15 years are getting married, and within 1 year they are having a child. With this age of 15 years, the physical and mental growth is yet to be attained, and at that particular age only, if a girl child is burdened with one more child, then both the mother and the child's health will be damaged, and because of that only lots of mental mortality rate is seen in our country. The government of India is giving lots of treatments in the form of Janani Suraksha Yojana to take care of the mental mortality rate, and with this it is giving both prenatal as well as postnatal treatments. In spite of that, many of the females are dying. 50% of the maternal mortality rate is due to the anemia. Out of the total deaths of women in our country, 19% is attributed to the maternal deaths. So with this you can how worst is the situation in our country. So therefore government of India is now giving lots of importance, and since the family should not consider a female child as a burden, the government has taken up the responsibility of providing free education with free midday meals, and also almost all free facilities are being provided by the government. The government has popularized a slogan called Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao and Beti Padhao, because you all know that if a woman is educated, it is like the opening up of a school, so that she will educate. As one light will lit another lamp, it is the situation of a woman that if one woman becomes aware, is educated and has social awareness, she goes on motivating others also. So therefore the government of India has given lots of importance to the female sector, and it is preventing all types of female feticide that is happening in our country. In spite of that also, the female feticide is happening, and it is mainly due to the lack of education, awareness, and also due to the poverty reasons, and this should be eradicated. For this purpose only lots of NGOs are also working, and also the private sector is also joining its hands. So now let us discuss about the topic of medical tourism. It is a multi-crore, and now it is a $5 billion business in our country. Lots of other people are coming to our country to have the ailments treated in the country, because we have different types of medical practices through the Indian system of medicine. They are finding results in one or the other type of medicine. Most of the population of the cold country and continents like Australia, they are coming to India just to have sunbath in Indian beaches, because they are suffering from different types of skin cancers due to the lack of vitamin D that is obtained through the sun's rays. So, and many of the states in India are very popular for medical tourism, and Kerala is the #1 state in India which is known for medical tourism. This is owing to the #1 health infrastructure that is available in that state, along with good health and sanitation facilities that are existing in that state. Next to that we have Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Maharashtra, and some parts of the northern India, Delhi, everywhere people are visiting around the world to get the treatments, and India is today known for the lots of cosmetic surgeries, heart transplantation, kidney transplantation, and major operations related to the brain as well as many other organs of the body. India is very much popular for the same, and people around the world are today visiting to our country and getting their treatments done. You all know that the state of infrastructure in the areas of transportation as well as communication is also very well established in these days. 4.8% of the income that is generated out of the GDP is being invested on the health infrastructure in our country, and in spite of that also it demands lots of investment, and for that purpose only lots of private as well as the foreign institutional investors have come forward in India to provide a good state of health infrastructure in this country. So now let's see about the state of health in both urban and rural areas. Out of the total population of our country, 30% are residing in the urban areas and 70% are residing in the rural areas. And there are 80% of hospitals are found in the urban areas, wherein in the rural areas only 20% of the hospitals are found. You can see a greater difference here. 70% of the population is residing in the rural areas and only 20% of the hospitals are existing in the rural areas. So there is a greater mismatch here. So all these 70% of population should go to the urban areas only for getting the treatments. So this should be eradicated and lots of rural health facilities should be established in our country. The dispensaries in our country are almost equal in both the rural areas as well as the urban areas as 50-50%. This is a little comfortable one, wherein the facilities like X-ray, scanning are found in the urban areas and it is totally absent in rural areas. And there are lots of challenges for the government of India to bring 100% perfect health facilities, health infrastructure in our country, because 38% of the PHCs in our country are having no doctors and 30% of the PHCs, the primary health centers in our country, are not having any kind of medical facilities. And there is a lot of causes which are contributing to the lack of proper health infrastructure in our country, and there is a great disproportion in relation to the number of medical practitioners that are available in our country to the total number of population. Lots of people who are engaged in the medical profession, maybe they are doctors or the nurses or even paramedical workers, there is a greater shortage, and during this particular period of pandemic we have seen that lots of these health infrastructure warriors have claimed their lives also. To overcome this challenge only, the government of India is now establishing government medical colleges in almost all parts of our country, and even the private sector is also contributing a greater portion to this. And lots of private sector medical colleges have also emerged in our country, along with the training institutes for paramedical workers also, along with some pharmacy colleges are also established in our country. In spite of all this also, India is still struggling to overcome the challenges related to the health sector, and it is yet to attain 100% success. From today's session, I have thought of giving each day in each session a thought which is very useful for students. And today's thought for the day is: waves are my inspiration, not because they rise and fall, but because they rise every time when they fall. So this is a popular quote given by our former president APJ Abdul Kalam. This says you that to develop a never give up attitude. So with this I conclude this session. Thank you.